Hey everybody, my name is Roman, and I hope that you are all having a fantastic day today. So, I'm here to make this short little video. Personally, I'm not sure why I'm making this video, but I just thought that it'd be a little interesting topic for me to dive into. If you guys have been around for a while on my channel, some of you may remember that months ago, while I was live streaming on YouTube, I would be watching Matt Walsh and then saying stuff like, uh, there's only man and women. Facts don't care about your feelings. Just that kind of stuff. And I was watching Matt Walsh and just straight on agreeing with stuff that he was saying. I'm gonna break down a little bit of a timeline on why I stopped watching Matt Walsh. Even I'm not exactly sure how I started watching him. I believe that I was on TikTok and I saw only a 50-second clip of him speaking with college students. The video was stated that he was speaking facts and saying all that stuff, owning them, just that basic stuff. And the thing is that I was only seeing those little snippets and clips. And I'm like, wow, this guy's a genius. Oh, he's just straight on speaking facts. That's what I was led to believe. So then eventually it came to a point where I decided to start watching Matt Welsh's videos. However, when I was watching some of his content, I wasn't watching them to just stop and then think and then say, do I agree with that? Does he seem right or does he not? That's the thing. I never did any of that. I just walked in and just said, yep, this guy's right. Didn't even think about it. None of that. No critical thinking. There was a Dr. Phil episode featuring Matt Walsh, and Matt Walsh was sitting down with some non-binary people, and I watched the interview, and in my head, I was just like, default, already just believing in stuff about Matt Walsh. No question. No question at all. Now, before I watched that video, I was already on Matt Walsh's side, just by default. I never once knew a single thing of what the left side meant, on what the transgender and non-binary, on what they stood for, and what their line is versus what Matt Walsh's line is. I watched the Dr. Phil episode just straight up okay, Matt Walsh is going to destroy them with facts and logic, that kind of stuff. So I watched the Dr. Phil episode, and there were two people who were non-binary. I believe they were both non-binary. I think one of them was transgender. I personally don't remember. If you guys know, please correct me if I'm wrong. So I did not listen to them. I only heard them, and I'm like, yeah, they're just rambling stuff. Yeah, what a joke. Just that kind of stuff. So a YouTuber actually made a breakdown video talking about that moment from Dr. Phil. I was able to see some of the highlights and be able to see things from someone who is not immediately default on Matt Walsh's side. And I came to realize that the people who were non-binary who were sitting down and answering Matt Walsh's questions and explaining things, they were explaining things in more of a calmer and more gentle approach. Now, when it comes to hearing what someone has to say, I feel like approach and tone, those are two of the main big things about it. Now, say you ask a question, and if you just immediately answer straight on, sharp as an arrow and arrogant, when somebody answers a question like that, sometimes I'm like, okay. Now, those kind of answers would usually come from the conservative side, based on what I have seen personally. So then those clips from Dr. Phil, I rewatched them, and I came to realize that Matt Walsh just completely lost the argument. And Matt Walsh was just sending out personal attacks. He wasn't just speaking up about points and certain things. He was just like, listen, this is how it is, and that's how it is. And he was labeling these people as mentally ill and that sort of stuff. And it made me realize that he's got nothing to say, so he's trying to figure out something to back them into a corner to be manipulative. And I got to give those non-binary people credit for managing to sit down and have a discussion with Matt Walsh, which I have to admit is very impressive. Even in the end of those interviews, they like being able to sit down and have an open discussion and be able to talk about things. They can go on and on and on, which I got to say was actually really nice to see. It was very bittersweet. knowing that they weren't attacking him and making it personal, that in the end they established that, we agree to disagree, but I'm more than willing to have an open discussion, which I think is fantastic. That's something that I believe can make people good. All right, so when I was watching Matt Walsh's videos and just believing in stuff that he was saying without thinking about it, one question that I always had in my head is, what is Matt Walsh? Like, is he a psychologist? Is he an expert in medical stuff? Because he usually dives very deep into the transgender topic. Since I noticed that's what he was talking about, it made me wonder, is he like a specialist? Is he a psychologist or something like that? And then I realized he has no background in education. He's got nothing at all. He didn't even go to college because he just thinks that college is stupid. Having an opinion is one thing. We're all human beings and we're all allowed to have different opinions. And that's fine. You're allowed to express your opinion. You're allowed to be willing to have an open discussion, to speak about your opinion and be able to let other people be able to speak about their opinion, and then find a middle ground to say, well, okay, let's agree to disagree. Let's leave it as that. Now, a lot of these conservatives, they take their opinion and they like to walk around and just act like they're right all the time, like Matt Walsh. He's very arrogant and he's very selfish, and he has that tone, like he's giving off the impression like you have no other choice but to agree with me. If you don't, then you're an idiot, so go fuck yourself. That's the impression that I get when I listen to him. And again, Matt Walsh has an opinion, that's fine. But the problem is that he's saying his opinion like he's just right, like he's smart, smartest person in the room, like he's right about everything. And he never admits that he's wrong, none of that. There's something that a lot of these conservatives like to say. Facts don't care about your feelings. People like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh. Now, I used to think that Ben Shapiro was a genius because of like how much he could answer so fast. But I've come to realize that from my point of view right now, I'm pretty sure he doesn't even know what he's saying because he doesn't have enough time to formulate an answer, to think about it, to put in some critical thinking and be able to have a response. So yeah, my point about the whole facts don't care about your feelings. Now, I've come to notice that Matt Walsh, he'll say something like, for example, there's only a man and a woman because that's the facts. I'm just here to speak the facts. But I don't see him breaking down and explaining why these are facts. Because I'd like to see him be able to say, okay, this is why it's facts, because this source says this source says that. I wouldn't have to agree with it, but if he's citing sources and stating why they are facts, then okie dokie. Okay, great, awesome. And there was actually a clip on the Joe Rogan show, Joe Rogan, I think that's right, where he said that there are millions and millions of kids under puberty blockers and medication, but then he got fact-checked. And it was just among the very, very, very few thousands, like maybe 4,000.
Are you talking about hormone blockers?
Yeah.
Millions of kids have been on hormone blockers, really?
I'm sure someone's going to fact check me on that, but my guess is that we're into the millions now at this point. Yeah, that would be my guess.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
It says it's kind of undercounted, but
that would be a big undercounting.
Less than 1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess, hundreds of thousands at this, but I could be wrong.
I'd like to talk about when I stopped watching Matt Walsh, because I think this is an interesting point for me to bring up. I was watching one of his full episodes. The thing is, I was only watching the small bits, but then I decided to watch one of the full episodes. For some reason, I don't know what this whole point was, but Matt Walsh, for some reason, just had this whole ramble about the LGBT rainbow flag. And then he says that, in the left, they're forcing us to stand up for that ugly rainbow flag. And then when he said that, I just took a look around like, why am I listening to this guy? Because funny thing is that it's actually the opposite. Now, some of us Americans, we notice that there is a lot of issues with this country. Now, when there's a national anthem, me personally, I don't stand for it. I I just don't, because of all this stuff going on in our country. And I feel like that's a way for me to express my feelings toward this country. But also, I'm not walking up to people's faces and hitting them and spreading hate to them and telling them they're idiots for believing in what they believe. So that's just me expressing my opinion in a subtle way because we have freedom of speech. We're allowed to express ourselves that way. However, it's more likely that you'll get put under pressure if you don't stand up for the American flag, that you'll probably get looks and people will say, hey, what are you doing? Because that's what a lot of conservatives like to do. And it was just kind of ironic seeing that Matt Walsh was talking about that with the rainbow flag. Okay, I know I got a little off topic here, but I think you guys understand my point. Just want to make it very clear. Now, before I watched Matt Walsh, a big topic nowadays is transgender. That's a very big topic nowadays. And the thing is, before I watched Matt Walsh, I personally never had a problem with transgender people. I just never cared too much to see that this is a problem and to be like, oh, yeah, they're supposed to be men. I never cared. I was very neutral on the subject. And if people are happy that way, that's awesome. That was until Matt Walsh came in. The problem was that I know that he never said this. I know that he wasn't saying this directly, but it's like I was getting the message that, oh yeah, there's this, you have to care. You have to care about it. This is a big, big, big problem around here. I fell into that role. And I was just saying stuff like, yeah, you can only be a man and a woman, and that's facts. Yeah, facts don't care about your feelings. There's only XY chromosome, all that kind of stuff. Now, I didn't say it because it's what I believed in. I didn't say it because that's just what I saw. I said it because I was made to say, I was made to care about what these people did with their lives. And also another thing that I noticed is that conservatives like Matt Walsh, they like to take something this big and make it seem like it's this big. Let's talk about the drag shows. Okay, on the internet, there has been very few video clips of a drag show with sexual material while there's children around. And if people like Matt Walsh, conservatives and Republicans, if they want to make a clear statement that sexual material should not be displayed in front of children, and if they want to make sure that that's being pushed seriously, then that, I understand that. I have no problem with that. But the thing is, they're taking a look at that and then saying, oh my God, look at what's going on in our country. Look at what all these LGBT drag people are doing. And they want to ban drag shows, which is taking away people's will of free speech. Freedom of speech is our rights in this country. And now here's the other question that I never once thought of when it came to inappropriate stuff being displayed in front of children, which I can guarantee you is probably less than even 1%. So why would the parents bring their children to drag shows? Because now drag shows, they're usually for people over the ages of 18, because it's very clear why. There's going to be some stuff on there that children should not be able to see, because it's just how it is. But the conservatives, they talk about the people up on stage. But why not talk about the parents? Why not talk about the fact that their parents knows what's going to happen there and they bring their children to it? It's a good question. Drag show readings, that's no problem. It's just someone wearing a lot of makeup, whatever, just reading a fun book. Why is that a problem in this country? It's kind of surprising that these conservatives are taking a look at this and saying, oh, look at this thing that's going on in our country. And I'm just like, really? I'm taking a look at that and I'm just thinking, our lives being at stake, our lives being threatened because of this? No? Okay, so stop complaining. Now, when they see stuff about trans women playing against women, they spread all this hate about trans women, which I think is wrong, personally. Now, that's a bit of a heavy subject. And I don't see them talking about the fact that when there's trans men playing against cisgender men in sports, that they're taking testosterone and taking all this stuff to build up muscle. I don't see them talking about that. Isn't that interesting? We have a small percentage of people in the country who are just transgender, in that category, transgender. But once you look into it, there's like a percentage that's trans women, a percentage that's trans men. Then if you dive into that, there's like even more. You go in and you find a percentage that plays sports, which is very small. And there's a whole bunch of different sports like golf, basketball, football, swimming, all that. And then when you go into there, there's going to be very, very small categories who plays in those sports. It's like categories within categories, percentages. You go in and there's that's as simple as I'm going to make it. So is it really that big of an issue? No. That's up for the sports team. That's up for the sports organization. That's up for the town in the local area to figure out on. Not for a whole government to take a look at and say, oh, look at this. I personally find that silly. In the end, you guys do not have to fully agree with me on this kind of stuff. Whether you agree with me or not, whatever, that's fine. We are allowed to agree to disagree. And if you want to express your opinion in the comments, that's okay. If you think that there is only a man and a woman, that's fine. The bottom line is, just don't be a dick. That's all that I say. Just don't be an asshole. Don't be an asshole. That's all that I ask. Don't be an ass. And then everything's going to be fine. I'm not happy of it that I was influenced by a conservative like Matt Walsh. And that's just my story. But again, in the end, we're all human beings. We're not all supposed to live our lives in one way only, in one kind of standard. Listen, we're all supposed to be different together. We're all supposed to be different. We're supposed to let each other go on with our day, learn each other, cope with each other. That's how we're supposed to be in society. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please hit that like button and subscribe button. I know that this is a bit of a strange video for me to make, but yeah. Okay, bye.